Can you even believe it? We're in, what, 2025? And we're seeing scenes. Honestly, they feel straight out of some bizarre movie.
It's pretty wild, isn't it?
We were talking about grown adults, not just, queuing patiently, but actually fighting, physically fighting over a toy.
Yeah.
We've seen footage, grown men practically breaking down shopping mall doors, young women collapsing, crying on the floor, just totally devastated because they missed out on one specific character.
That level of emotion is something else.
And entire stores, you have to picture this, being forced to shut their doors. Not because of stock, but because the crowds got so aggressive, so unmanageable, genuinely dangerous, safety was just gone. And here's the real kicker. This isn't about the newest iPhone, the one everyone wants. It's not some limited edition Dior bag or even the next PlayStation. Nope. This frenzy, this absolute mania, it centers around a tiny, kind of unassuming creature. It's got this whimsical fairy tale face, but also a slightly mischievous, maybe even a little creepy smile. Its name is Labubu. And this little monster hasn't just, appeared. It has completely taken over social media feeds. It's commanding these astronomical prices on resale sites. It's captured the hearts of millions of collectors, and let's be totally honest here, it's made a serious dent in a lot of wallets.
It really is remarkable when you step back and look at it.
Yeah.
On the surface, you see it first time, it looks like just another cute figurine.
Right.
Maybe a fleeting trend, something for a niche group.
That's what I thought initially.
But the longer you look, the more you sort of dig into it, the more complex, the more intriguing the questions become. Is this really just an adorable toy, a passing fad? Or are we actually witnessing one of the most sophisticated, maybe emotionally engineered marketing phenomena we've seen in recent years? It really forces you to think about the powerful forces at play behind this kind of widespread devotion.
It absolutely does. So today, that's our mission. Our deep dive is going to unpack this whole fascinating phenomenon. We want to peel back the layers of hype, understand how this tiny creature, originally from Hong Kong, somehow managed to leapfrog huge, established global brands, and why its influence now goes way, way beyond just toy shelves. We're going to explore its sort of whimsical beginnings, the brilliant strategies that shot it to stardom, and the almost unbelievable emotional impact it's had across the globe. Okay.
Let's unpack this. Let's do it.
So to kick us off then, for those of us maybe like me who haven't been obsessively tracking every single viral toy trend, who on earth are these Labubu characters and where did they even spring from? My first thought, I'll admit, was, is this some new anime thing I somehow totally missed?
Right, or a game character.
Exactly, or maybe a character from some obscure video game. But the truth, as it often is, it's much more, whimsical, and you could argue maybe much more profound.
It genuinely is. Labubu isn't the product of some big corporate design lab or a marketing-focused group session. It's actually a central character from a whole series of really enchanting drawings and fairy tales. They're the brainchild of one person, a Hong Kong artist named Ka-Sing Leung.
Ka-Sing Leung, okay.
And here's a detail that often catches people by surprise. It kind of highlights the unexpected twists in these creative journeys.
Yeah.
He didn't actually invent these creatures in China. His whole creative universe was born, believe it or not, in the Netherlands.
The Netherlands, really?
Yeah, that's where he moved with his family when he was a child.
Yeah.
So that set the stage for this really unique blend of cultural inspirations.
Wow, okay. That is absolutely not what I would have guessed. That throws a really fascinating curveball into the origin story. So how did being in the Netherlands influence his art, his vision?
Well, it was incredibly influential. You have to imagine young Ka-Sing Leung, transplanted into this new European landscape.
Right.
And it was there that he apparently became completely captivated by Scandinavian folklore, by the really rich tapestry of ancient myths and all these captivating tales of strange, often mischievous magical creatures.
Ah, okay, the folklore connection.
Exactly. And these enchanting stories weren't just like entertainment for him. They seemed to resonate really deeply with his developing artistic side. They became this sort of foundational wellspring from which he started creating his own unique fantasy universe. And he envisioned his characters not just as monsters, but as creatures that were, and this is his description, a little scary, a little cute, but very, very emotional. And that emotional core, I think that's absolutely critical to understanding why Labubu has such enduring appeal.
Emotional, yeah, that tracks with the trying fans.
Right. And he's often spoken about his childhood. I'll quote him directly here, actually, because it illustrates the raw, unfiltered beginning of his art so well. He said, At that time, there were no game consoles or computers. I had to draw dolls with a pen, so the idea of drawing fairy tales came to me from childhood. It's quite profound, isn't it? These characters didn't start as potential mass-market products. They came from this deeply personal place, heartfelt illustrations for kids' stories, drawn with just pen and paper, born purely from imagination and that connection to ancient tales.
That's truly incredible. It really highlights something, doesn't it? How so many truly impactful creative ideas, they often start so simply, so organically, almost unassuming.
Uh-huh.
They spring from someone's pure passion, a personal vision or a deep connection to some inspiration. It's only later that they catch the eye of the bigger players, the ones with the resources and the reach to scale them up.
Exactly.
But it's that raw, authentic origin, that personal touch, that so often gives these things their enduring appeal, their emotional resonance, even when they eventually turn into a global sensation like this. It's really a testament to the power of original creativity.
You've hit on a crucial point there.
Yeah.
And that's precisely the path Labubu took. It was only later that this massive Chinese company, Pop Mart.
Pop Mart, right. Heard of him.
Yeah, they have a very keen eye for emerging trends for artistic talent. They discovered Lung's charming drawings. Now, it's important to understand Pop Mart's own background here a bit.
Mhm.
They weren't just any toy company. They were already very actively promoting and, frankly, shaping what they branded as blind box culture.
Ah, the infamous blind box. Okay, I've heard that term thrown around a lot lately. For anyone who might not be totally clear, what exactly does that mean in this context? What is blind box culture?
Well, think of it like maybe the Kinder Surprise experience many of us had as kids.
Okay, yeah, the little chocolate egg with a toy.
Exactly. But amplify that and target it more towards adults, or at least collectors of all ages. You buy a box, and you have absolutely no idea which specific character or which variation you're going to get inside.
Total mystery.
Total mystery. It's an experience built entirely around that element of surprise, that little thrill of the reveal, the gamble of the unknown. Pop Mart had already pretty much mastered this, making the unboxing itself an event, a sort of mini drama.
The thrill of the unknown. Okay, that makes so much sense as a core appeal. It's not just buying a product. It's like buying a little lottery ticket, isn't it? A moment of suspense.
Precisely. So, armed with this mastery of the blind box culture, Pop Mart goes to Kesting Lung with a proposition.
Yeah.
A big one,
Mm-hmm.
essentially. Let's transform your captivating drawings, these characters people already love from your stories, into tangible, physical figures.
Makes sense.
Lung agreed. And that pivotal moment, that agreement, that's how Labubu made the leap from paper to plastic, becoming this collectible thing.
And the very first Labubu figure came out, when was it, 2014?
That's right, 2014.
It's hard to imagine now, given the current craze, right? That initially it was just a small experimental series, really niche, almost like an art house item aimed specifically at that dedicated art toy collector crowd.
Yeah, it had its fans, but it wasn't mainstream.
Definitely not causing riots. But here's where it gets really interesting, isn't it? Where the whole story takes a sharp turn. Because from that humble, almost underground start, something truly monumental, something strategically brilliant started to unfold.
Indeed. With Labubu basically as their anchor, Pop Mart didn't just release a few figures here and there. They embarked on this really ambitious project. Build an entire monsters universe around this character, meticulously positioning Labubu as the central, most recognizable star.
The face of the franchise, basically.
Exactly. And the sheer variety they've introduced since then is, well, it's striking, almost overwhelming, actually. There are now over 300 variations of Labubu out there.
300.
Over 300. Think about that. 300 different looks, different poses, different themes. You want a pastel pink one, got a vibrant yellow, or even a trendy, minimalist nude version. No problem.
Oh.
There's Labubu, dressed as a mysterious forest creature, a regal princess, a little playful Labu angel. They've even managed to secure official collaborations with huge, iconic brands, like Hello Kitty,
Okay, classic.
and maybe more surprisingly, McDonald's.
McDonald's, Labubu Happy Meals.
Not quite Happy Meals, but branded figures, yeah.
Hmm.
They've truly saturated the market with this endless array of versions, catering to pretty much every aesthetic taste and collecting impulse you can imagine.
Over 300 variations. That's not just a product line anymore. It's like you said, a tiny, adorable, but incredibly relentless army just taking over everything.
Yeah, something like this.
And what's fascinating is seeing how the fan base grew directly alongside that expansion. It kicked off with this really fervent following in China, then it just rapidly swept across the rest of Asia. But what really fueled the frenzy, beyond just the sheer number of options,
Yeah.
what transformed it from popular into an absolute obsession, that was what I like to call their secret ingredient.
Oh, yes.
It's something marketers have known about for centuries, really, but Pop Mart executed it with such modern precision.
That's precisely right. Pop Mart used this brilliant, almost ancient yet incredibly effective psychological strategy. They introduced secret characters in each series.
The secrets, okay,
And these weren't just slightly different paint jobs. These were ultra-rare models. Sometimes maybe only one or two in an entire production run of thousands. And their existence, their design, wasn't revealed until the very moment of release.
total surprise again.
Exactly. So when you bought that blind box, it wasn't just a toy anymore. It was a high-stakes lottery ticket. You could get a regular, common Labubu, or you could hit the jackpot and get one of those incredibly rare, elusive, secret models.
And those were worth.
They could fetch hundreds, sometimes even thousands of dollars on resale markets almost instantly upon being found.
Wow.
This immediately created this explosive secondary market and a feverish, almost desperate hunt for those hidden gems. It just taps right into that primal human desire for luck, for winning, for owning something truly unique that almost nobody else has.
You know, this whole phenomenon, this rush for a perceived rare item, it reminds me so much of something recent. Right here, remember the Minecraft figures in Happy Meals not that long ago?
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Chaos.
Total chaos. All the cool, rare ones were just gone in days. Literally swept off the McDonald's counters. And then boom, they popped up almost immediately on resale sites for these crazy inflated prices. I actually saw a guy loading more than 20 Happy Meals into his car outside a drive-thru, and I distinctly remember thinking, I don't think he's bringing those home to his kids for dinner.
Oh, probably not.
Definitely another mom and pop businessman or maybe a more organized scalper, just trying to cash in on that perceived scarcity. It's that same thrill, isn't it? That same calculated risk.
It absolutely is.
Though it is worth noting, for people who prefer certainty, Pop Mart does also sell larger figures, right? Like not in blind boxes.
That's right. They do offer larger non-blind box figures,
Yeah.
typically around 50, 70 centimeters. With those, the buyers know exactly what character and design they're getting. So it's not all a gamble.
Okay.
But the blind box, that is certainly the engine driving the addiction, the core of the frenzy.
Got it.
And it was around, say, 2018, 2019, that Labubu figures really began their dramatic, almost unstoppable takeover of platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and other big social media networks, especially in China first.
Right.
And this wasn't just about sales figures anymore. It became about culture. People weren't just buying them. They were meticulously filming these elaborate unboxing videos, turning the simple act of opening a plastic box into this highly anticipated, sometimes really dramatic event. They were meticulously collecting, proudly showing off their growing hauls online, and fervently hunting for those elusive secret figures. The search itself became this passionate quest.
It truly became an entire cultural phenomenon, didn't it? The unboxing wasn't just about revealing a toy. It was the performance, the buildup, the raw emotion of the reveal. It's like a shared experience, almost a ritual, that connects millions of people online.
Precisely. This blend of carefully managed limited editions, the element of surprise, and that intense emotional payoff when you find a rare one. It's perfectly engineered to create this powerful, almost addictive loop. And as we've seen, it works. It works perfectly.
Clearly.
But the jump, the leap from just being popular, a sort of niche cultural hit, to becoming truly ultra-popular, a global sensation that had an additional, undeniable catalyst.
Let me guess. Celebrities.
You got it. Specifically, the influence of K-pop artists, and even more specifically, the global phenomenon that is Blackpink.
Ah, the Blackpink effect, of course. It's an age-old marketing tool, the celebrity endorsement, but yeah, in the age of social media, its power is just amplified beyond belief.
Toby?
And what's fascinating here is how it started. It wasn't some big, heavily branded, in-your-face campaign, was it?
Not at all. Early in 2024, Blackpink members Lisa and Rosé just posted casual Instagram stories. They were simply holding Labubu figures almost like an afterthought. There were no brand tags, no explicit mentions like, check out this cool toy.
Yeah.
As if these cute little monsters were a normal, everyday part of their lives. A personal accessory they genuinely liked. It felt so organic, so unassuming, so authentic.
And that's probably what made it so powerful, right? It didn't feel like an ad.
Exactly. It felt genuine, relatable. Then, the escalation began. Lisa, who's known globally as a major fashion icon.
Yeah, huge influence.
She appeared at Milan Fashion Week, one of the highest profile fashion events in the world, and she had a Labubu figure just casually dangling as a bag charm.
Your bag charm. Okay.
Again, this didn't read like product placement. It felt like a personal style statement. And that's when the real madness, the kind of trickle-down effect, truly kicked off.
Right.
Other high-profile celebrities quickly picked up on it, mirroring Lisa's seemingly effortless embrace of this little toy as an accessory. We saw Dua Lipa, who's known for setting trends.
Yep.
Rihanna, a global style icon in her own right. And even Northwest, Kim Kardashian's daughter, was seen sporting the same distinctive little monster as a bag charm. It suddenly became this undeniable, very visible trend among the most influential people.
Oh my gosh, you remember that old trend, don't you? Who else rocked like a gray eyeless bunny bag charm back in high school thinking they were the absolute coolest kid on the block?
Totally.
This isn't really a new concept in accessories, is it? It's just a new and, frankly, far cuter character. It taps perfectly into that classic desire for a quirky, trendy accessory that says something about your personal style. Something a bit edgy, maybe, but still adorable.
Indeed. And Lisa's continued appearances, almost playful, with different Labubu variations. There was a soft pink one, a shimmering glittery one, even a whimsical unicorn version that just further built the anticipation and the desirability.
Yeah.
Each sighting felt like a new clue in this global treasure hunt for what's the coolest Labubu.
Right.
But the real tipping point, the moment that arguably solidified Labubu's global takeover, was Lisa's secret obsession video. It was on Vanity Fair's official YouTube channel.
Oh, I think I saw that.
Yeah, this video came out maybe 6 months before the current, peak craze we're seeing now.
Yeah.
It was this really candid peek into her personal collection. She showed off her entire Labubu hoard, all meticulously organized.
Wow.
And then she proceeded to unbox new packs right there on camera with such a genuine sparkle and delight in her eyes. It was like she wasn't just revealing toys, but unearthing super rare, priceless diamonds.
You could feel the excitement.
Totally. You could hear her genuine joy, that almost childlike wonder, as she exclaimed things like, "I'm such a nerd. Wow, this is so..." It was incredibly endearing.
That video, that raw, unscripted display of pure delight, yeah, that probably sealed the deal for anyone who was still kind of on the fence about buying one.
I think so, too.
It was authentic, it was relatable, and it just perfectly showcased the sheer emotional pull these little figures have. After that video dropped, TikTok and Instagram just exploded with a fresh, totally unprecedented wave of unboxings, these over-the-top reaction videos, hilarious memes, and emotional clips titled things like, "I finally got the secret Labubu and almost fainted."
Yeah.
The emotional response was just overwhelming, palpable, and incredibly contagious.
And the statistics, they genuinely speak for themselves here. They illustrate the sheer scale of this thing. The hashtag Labubu, just that one hashtag alone, has accumulated over 1.2 billion views on TikTok.
Billion with a B.
Billion with a B. Think about that number. That's billions of eyeballs, billions of moments of shared excitement. You saw countless videos, people crying from sheer happiness, meticulously showing off their ever-growing collections, even engaging in playful, sometimes pretty intense competition over who owned the most figures or the rarest ones.
Wow.
The collective desire, the shared obsession, it was just undeniable and incredibly powerful.
And this wasn't just contained to Asia anymore, right? Where Pop Mart already had a strong foothold. This became truly global.
Absolutely. It spread like wildfire.
Yeah.
The wave that Blackpink arguably started hit the U.S. shores hard. Stores in Texas, interestingly, were reported as the first to visibly surrender to the demand back in February 2024.
Surrender, I like that.
Yeah. All the figures were sold out within days, sometimes hours, immediately creating these incredibly long queues, sparking a genuine buying frenzy, and leading to the immediate and very lucrative emergence of resale markets where prices just soared. U.S. media outlets, which are often a bit slower to pick up on these kinds of toy trends, even started publishing articles with headlines like, "Where can you actually buy Labubu right now?"
That's incredible. A small plastic toy driving that kind of widespread media attention and consumer desperation. Just wild.
It really is.
So remember how we started this whole deep dive? Mentioning those almost unbelievable scenes of fighting and chaos?
Yeah, the mall doors.
Exactly. Well, that wasn't just hyperbole. It wasn't just a dramatic opening hook.
You're correct.
This gets very real, very quickly. Just a couple of weeks ago, actually, to illustrate the sheer intensity of this, Pop Mart stores across the entire UK, all 16 of their locations there,
Uh-huh.
they actually had to temporarily suspend toy sales. Until June, this drastic measure was taken specifically to prevent potential safety issues for customers and for staff. It had genuinely escalated to that level of concern.
Wow. Suspending sales entirely.
Yeah.
And there's this chilling eyewitness account I read from a woman who bravely decided to go into a store during what she called peak madness.
Oh, boy.
She recounted people literally screaming, practically saying there were no more Labubus left.
Yeah.
Just a scene of utter pandemonium.
Good grief.
And even more disturbingly, she said she witnessed a direct physical altercation, a fight, between an employee and a customer.
Yeah.
She called it quite a bad experience and truly scary.
Oh, man.
She also added this detail that really paints a picture of the desperation involved. When she arrived at the store, she saw other customers who had apparently been camping outside the doors since 3 a.m.
3 in the morning.
3 in the morning, setting up makeshift camps just to be first in line when the store opened, simply to get their hands on this toy.
Camping out from 3 a.m. for a toy. It just becomes utterly absurd, doesn't it? To be in a situation where people are literally fighting, screaming, and where you, as just a regular shopper, feel genuine fear for your safety.
Yeah, that's crossing a line.
So for very understandable reasons, putting safety first, the company made that call. Temporarily halt sales. It's drastic, sure, but probably necessary when consumer demand reaches such a dangerous boiling point.
And of course, you can imagine the true, dedicated fans. They were understandably incredibly upset.
Oh, I bet.
They felt like they'd waited patiently, sometimes for months, for a restock, only for resellers, the scalpers, to just swoop in and snatch everything up within a day, often before the genuine collectors even had a chance.
That must be so frustrating.
Deeply frustrating for the real enthusiasts. And it really highlights this persistent global problem, doesn't it? The whole scalper issue isn't unique to toys at all. It plagues highly demanded items across every category, from concert tickets to the latest graphics cards.
Sure.
It's just a symptom of that artificial scarcity meeting rabid demand.
And inevitably, where there's that high demand, where there's a perceived treasure to be had, there are almost always fakes.
Oh yeah, the counterfeit market springs up instantly.
That's the unfortunate, darker underbelly of any viral hype cycle like this. Well, the original Labubu figures, they aren't prohibitively expensive on their own, averaging around $13 to $15 for a blind box.
Right, relatively accessible.
That perceived scarcity, that intense desire, it immediately fuels this massive opportunistic replica market.
Indeed. And unsurprisingly, Chinese online marketplaces are incredibly quick to flood the market with fakes, often selling them for just about $10, making them seem like a slight bargain compared to the original price.
A bargain that isn't really a bargain.
Exactly. And in other regions, like parts of Eastern Europe, for example, we've seen fakes being sold at the original prices, around $15, often without any disclosure at all that they're not genuine.
Oh, that's sneaky.
Very. And the quality, it's typically abysmal. We're talking crooked faces, misaligned features, eyes that scratch off easily, terrible cheap packaging. They are absolutely not worth the money. They offer none of the craftsmanship or the collectible appeal of the authentic items.
So you're potentially paying full price or close to it for a knockoff that looks like it's been, I don't know, put through a cheap blender and then glued back together badly.
Pretty much.
And then for stark contrast, you look at the genuine Labubu figures on the secondary resale market, and the prices can be just astronomical.
Absolutely. Depending on the rarity of the figure, they can go anywhere from, say, 1,000 to 10,000 Ukrainian hryvnia, which for our international listeners, that's roughly 25 to 250 US dollars.
Okay, that's already a big jump.
Big jump.
Yeah.
And those ultra-limited, hyper-rare secret ones. I've seen listings for 12,000 to 23,000 hryvnia. That's approximately 300 to 580 USD.
$500 for one small plastic figure.
Yep.
So I have to ask you, our listener, directly, would you be willing to shell out over 10,000 UAH, over $250 for a small plastic toy?
Oh, yeah.
Or is that too much for your personal definition of value? It's a staggering amount for what is, at its core, a plastic figurine.
And beyond just the quality issues and the inflated resale market, there's a significant intellectual property issue at play here that often gets overlooked by consumers just caught up in the hype.
Right, the copyright.
Exactly. Labubu, as Casting Long's original creation, is fully copyrighted.
Mm-hmm.
So printing its image on merchandise without an official collaboration, which you see some smaller entrepreneurial t-shirt makers or maybe accessory designers doing, that's a direct copyright violation. It's not a gray area. It's clear infringement.
You know, we often hear about how some regions or maybe certain online marketplaces can feel like a bit of a Wild West when it comes to enforcing copyright. I mean, I doubt a massive company like Pop Mart is going to chase down every single small independent t-shirt shop somewhere that uses Labubu's image without permission, right? But it does make you wonder about the bigger picture. Like all those widespread fakes you see on global marketplaces like AliExpress or maybe even Etsy, what are the actual legal repercussions there? And how does a company like PopMart even try to fight that battle?
It's a very valid and complex question. And you're right, traditional legal action can be slow, it can be challenging, especially across different international borders. But the platforms themselves are becoming increasingly proactive.
How so?
Well, social media giants like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook,
Sure.
they're actively blocking accounts that are found to be selling replicas or infringing on intellectual property. They have algorithms and reporting systems for this now.
Okay. Platform enforcement.
Exactly. So for a small business or even a larger online reseller, losing their account, that means losing their primary sales channel, their customer base, their reputation pretty much overnight. It's almost like shutting down their entire business instantly. So it's a very real and immediate threat for those operating online. It's a kind of algorithmic crackdown that often bypasses those slower legal systems.
Gotcha. But despite all these potential copyright headaches with small, unauthorized businesses popping up, it's clear that PopMart loves official collaborations.
Oh, absolutely.
They actually seem to see them as a cornerstone of their brand strategy, right? A way to expand their reach and legitimize Labubu's place in popular culture.
They absolutely do. You could argue it's their most potent tool for boosting sales and really diversifying the appeal of Labubu. Over the past few years, they've secured an incredible range of official partnerships, spanning vastly different industries, different cultural touchstones.
Like what?
Well, we mentioned Hello Kitty and McDonald's. They've also collaborated with the iconic Coca-Cola, the beloved manga and anime series One Piece.
Wow, One Piece.
Yeah, the trendy athleisure brand Alo Yoga.
Okay, interesting mix.
And perhaps most surprisingly, and maybe impressively, even the world-renowned Louvre Museum in Paris.
The Louvre! Seriously, Labubu meets the Mona Lisa.
Apparently so. The range truly goes from, cheeseburgers to the Mona Lisa. It just demonstrates their incredible ambition and their willingness to integrate Labubu into the fabric of these incredibly diverse cultural landscapes.
Given that seemingly endless and frankly pretty eclectic list, why hasn't my favorite local shop, the Quirky Emporium, been approached yet for a collab? Maybe the next collection will feature Labubu posing with local park benches or city trash cans, maybe miniature pizzas from the corner cafe.
Haha, maybe you should pitch it.
Potmart, you know where to find me for that consultation, but seriously, it just shows how incredibly broad their collaborative reach has become. Labubu is like this chameleon that can fit into almost any brand universe they choose.
Now, this brings us to a really critical point, though. One that many enthusiastic buyers, caught up in the moment, might be overlooking.
Okay.
Many people are purchasing these figures, sometimes paying those significant resale prices we talked about, with the explicit hope or maybe assumption that they are making a collectible investment.
Ah, the investment angle.
Yeah, that these little plastic monsters will appreciate significantly in value over time. But honestly, for the vast majority of these figures, this is largely a harsh self-deception.
Oof. Harsh, but maybe true.
When we discuss true collectible art, whether it's fine art paintings, rare books, or even those high-end art toys we'll touch on, it operates on a fundamentally different principle.
How so?
It's about extremely limited editions, often referred to as closed drops, where only a finite number are ever produced, and there's strict artist control or gallery control over that scarcity. You either manage to buy it at that precise moment of release, or you literally never get it directly from the source again.
Right, so you're forced onto the secondary market.
Exactly. Forcing you to acquire it from another collector, potentially at 10 or 20 times the original price, or even more. The scarcity is inherent, it's intentional, and it's rigorously maintained.
But with Labubu, it's practically the opposite, isn't it? There seem to be tons of boxes released, new series come out regularly, almost constantly, it feels like sometimes.
Pretty frequently, yeah.
Yes, okay, there are those elusive secret figures, but even those, in the grand scheme of things, they quickly enter the market. The market can get saturated relatively fast, especially compared to true limited editions. The scarcity that fuels that initial frenzy feels often more like a simulated scarcity.
Simulated scarcity. That's a good way to put it.
Like an intentional withholding of supply just to drive demand, rather than an absolute unchangeable limitation like you see in fine art. All that intense emotion, all that undeniable hype we've been discussing, it feels driven primarily by social media, by those viral TikToks, by the thrill of the hunt itself.
Yeah.
Not by the intrinsic, enduring, artistic, or material value of the object. It's just a very different kind of value proposition.
To truly illustrate this distinction, maybe let's look quickly at a couple of examples of what are generally considered true art toys or high-end collectibles in this space.
Okay.
Take Cause figures. You've definitely seen them, whether you realize it or not.
Cause. Yeah, the ones with the X's for eyes.
That's the one. You see them on social media, prominently displayed in high-end design showrooms, featured in modern, minimalist living spaces.
Yeah.
While the small ones might start around $100, $200, they're not really thought of as just toys. They're deeply considered sculptures, works of contemporary art, essentially.
Right.
The main character, Companion,
Yeah.
was created by the American artist Brian Donnelly back in 1999, and it was conceived as a deliberate, thoughtful alternative to the relentlessly cheerful, almost saccharine Disney characters of the time.
Interesting.
Cause Companion figure deliberately embodies more complex, more adult emotions, a sense of weariness, maybe depression, or a quiet loneliness.
Yeah, definitely not buying that one for myself right now. I think I'm doing just fine managing my own daily functions of tiredness and loneliness. Thank you very much.
Fair enough.
But it's a fascinating concept, isn't it? To have a character that deliberately embodies those deeper, perhaps darker human feelings. It invites a different kind of emotional connection than just pure cuteness.
It absolutely is. And Ka's journey itself is quite remarkable. It started as graffiti on street walls, subverting commercial advertisements with his signature style. Then, in 1999, he partnered with this influential Japanese brand, Bounty Hunter.
Okay.
That gave him the opportunity to translate his 2D illustrations into physical 3D form, the very first companion figures. And they were an immediate success, sold out instantly.
Wow.
But the real breakthrough for Kaz, the moment he became this globally recognized name far beyond just the art toy niche, happened in 2016 after a groundbreaking collaboration with Uniqlo.
Ah, the Uniqlo collab. I remember that.
Right. And yes, this was a case where his character's iconic images were printed on T-shirts, but it was done entirely legally, with full artistic and brand approval. The demand was just insane. Stores had crazy mile-long queues, items sold out in minutes. It really cemented his place in global popular culture.
So it wasn't just a fleeting trend. It was a global phenomenon that fundamentally embedded the brand in people's minds, in the mainstream consciousness.
Wow.
That collaboration legitimized him to a much wider audience.
Exactly. And from that point, Kaz strategically shifted his focus more toward high-profile exhibitions, major art auctions, and these massive public installations, transforming his characters into truly monumental art pieces.
Monumental how?
Well, for example, in 2019, they created this colossal 37-meter inflatable companion doll that majestically floated right in Hong Kong's iconic Victoria Harbor.
37 meters. Wow.
It was epic. It was grand. It was undeniably art. And just recently, in 2024, they unveiled an equally impressive 18-meter sculpture of Companion in Bangkok, depicted sitting on stylized ground, holding the moon in its hand, with a smaller figure on its lap.
Incredible.
This is how brands and artists of this caliber often promote themselves now through modern art. Not by screaming, "Buy me," but by creating something epic, something beautiful, something thought-provoking and contemporary that naturally makes people want to engage, to experience it, and ultimately, maybe to own a small piece of that artistic statement.
And it makes perfect sense why these would be so incredibly sought after when you look at the pricing, which is, yeah, in a completely different league from Labubu.
Precisely. The pricing reflects that artistic and material value. Small cost figures, the sort of entry-level pieces, they start around $250. The larger 50, 70 centimeter figures, those can range dramatically from $5,000 all the way up to $50,000, depending on the rarity, the edition size.
$50,000.
Yeah. And unique installations or bespoke art pieces. Those can command anywhere from $100,000 up to a staggering $15 million.
$15 million.
The most expensive Kaz work ever sold at auction was a Simpson-style painting featuring his signature X out eyes, which fetched an astonishing $14.8 million.
Good grief.
So yeah, no wonder serious celebrities, discerning art collectors, savvy investors, they love them. They carry significant artistic value, verifiable collectible value, and material value. They're often made of premium, durable materials like vinyl, sometimes wood or bronze for larger pieces.
Okay, calls. What else? You mentioned another one.
Then there's bear brick. This is another art toy you've very likely seen, maybe gracing countless aesthetic Pinterest pictures or design blogs.
The little blocky bears.
Exactly. Stylized teddy bears with movable parts. And the key thing is the design completely changes with each new series or collaboration. They've had an astounding range of collabs, too, with ultra-luxury fashion houses like Gucci and Chanel, sportswear giants like Nike, global beverage brands like Pepsi and Coca-Cola, iconic franchises like Star Wars, and countless cult artists have done designs for them.
So, also high-end.
Very high-end. These also cost an arm and a leg. And they are deliberately positioned not as children's toys, but as high-end luxury decor for adults who appreciate contemporary art and design.
So they're basically interior design statements, right? Conversation pieces, not something you'd hand to a 5-year-old to play with in the sandbox. They serve a completely different purpose.
Exactly. And the whole point of making this comparison isn't to diminish Labubu's appeal or its undeniable cultural impact. Far from it.
Right.
But it's just crucial to understand that these cute little monsters, they aren't really about collectible investment value in the same way that a Cause or a Bear Brick figure might be. Labubu isn't trying to be Cause or Bear Brick. It's not about gallery weight or deep artistic philosophy or long-term investment potential. Yes, its Scandinavian folklore origin adds that certain magnetism, that sense of enchanting fairy tale creatures come to life. That's cool. But at its core, Labubu is primarily about immediate emotion, broad mass appeal, and exceptionally aggressive, highly effective modern marketing.
Got it.
True collectible figures, the ones that tend to hold or increase long-term value, they're usually about impeccable craftsmanship, genuinely limited series runs, a discernible artistic philosophy behind them, and a meaning that resonates and maybe stays with you long-term, something that transcends fleeting trends.
Yeah, and this is the interesting paradox, isn't it? Even with arguably less meaning or investment potential than something like a Cause, Labubu is making an absolutely astounding amount of money, purely thanks to its sheer mass appeal, its emotional pull, and its viral power.
Yeah, the numbers are huge.
And honestly, for all the sophistication behind the marketing, to see that level of almost chaotic demand driven purely by hype and emotion, it's a little staggering in its power, isn't it?
It is. And PopMart's strategy is just undeniably effective. They have, for all intents and purposes, established a near monopoly in the Asian market, systematically pushing out smaller independent brands and just dominating the collectible toy space there.
Uh-huh.
Their distinctive stores, their pop-up stands, even those automated vending machines they have, they are literally everywhere across major Asian cities, making their products totally ubiquitous and incredibly easy to access.
And now they're bringing that model elsewhere.
Exactly. Now, they're confidently executing this aggressive expansion into the lucrative US, UK, and broader European markets. And from what we've seen so far, they've been met with an almost equally enthusiastic reception. Open arms, basically.
And it's clearly working financially, too. The numbers must be huge.
They are absolutely staggering. They paint a very clear picture of their global ambitions. In 2024, PopMart generated a remarkable $700 million in revenue outside of China.
$700 million just from outside China.
Just from international markets, which represents nearly 39% of their total global income already. That's a huge portion of their business coming from overseas, signaling just how successful that expansion has been.
Wow.
And their future plans are even more audacious. For 2025, they plan to open an astonishing 100 new overseas stores.
100 new stores in 1 year.
Yep. Including major flagship locations in key markets like America, France, Thailand, and Australia. They are on a very clear, very confident path towards global domination of this particular niche market.
Incredible growth. You know, if there's one person to truly be unequivocally happy for in this entire whirlwind story, beyond the massive corporation making billions, it has to be Ka-Sing Leung, right? The artist who originally created Labubu in the first place.
That's a really beautiful point.
Yeah, because, let's be honest, every artist, every creator, they dream of achieving recognition, achieving substantial success during their own lifetime. To see their work appreciated, rewarded, not, to have their groundbreaking paintings or creations discovered 40 years later, tucked away in some dusty garage after they've long passed on.
Absolutely. It's the dream, isn't it, to see it connect while you're here.
Yeah.
And while the exact financial terms of his agreement with PopMart aren't publicly disclosed, obviously, it's abundantly clear that Ka-Sing Leung is now, undoubtedly, a deep millionaire.
Good for him.
Absolutely. Having achieved the kind of widespread recognition and financial security that artists often only dream about. And who knows? Maybe with this newfound freedom, this financial security, these resources, maybe we'll see even more serious, perhaps more profoundly collectible works from him soon. Works that maybe transcend the mass market phenomenon and truly delve into deeper artistic expressions. He's certainly earned that opportunity to explore whatever he wants now.
Definitely. So, okay, after diving deep into all of this, understanding the origins, the marketing genius, the celebrity influence, the chaos, the fakes, the investment question, the cold hard economics, we arrive back at the ultimate question. The one you, listening right now, might be asking yourself, should you buy a Labubu?
Yeah. The $1 million or maybe the $15 question.
Right. It's a very personal decision, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And the question isn't really about financial prudence or investment strategy, I don't think. It's fundamentally about your expectations. What do you hope to gain from the purchase?
Okay.
If you're seeking that immediate emotional gratification, that sheer joy and suspense of unboxing a surprise figure, the satisfaction of making a cool TikTok video about it, or simply having an undeniably cute, quirky little monster sitting on your shelf purely for your own delight,
Yeah.
then yes,
Yeah.
by all means, buy it. It absolutely fulfills that immediate desire for excitement and owning a charming little collectible.
And maybe the real question isn't even whether you should buy one, but maybe whether it's fair to judge those who do, especially if you're an adult who might traditionally cringe at seeing toy charms dangling from designer handbags.
That's a good point. The judgment factor.
I'll admit it, I was skeptical at first. I kind of dismissed it as just another fleeting toy trend, or maybe even some kind of calculated propaganda scheme to make us all buy little plastic monsters. But then I remembered a simple, universal truth, something that connects all of us across all generations.
Which is?
Every single generation has its iconic toys.
That is so true. Think about it.
Exactly. It's true across time. When I was a kid, having, say, a Bratz doll or maybe a Monster High doll, that was the absolute epitome of cool, the height of playground fashion and millennials. They went absolutely crazy for Tamagotchi. Remember those?
Oh, Tamagotchi. The pressure.
The pressure, that tiny electronic friend that would famously die if you dared to ignore it for like more than 20 minutes. We also had the enduring appeal of Hot Wheels cars, the endless creativity of Lego, the transformative power of Transformers figures, the timeless glamour of Barbie, even classic simple things like yo-yos.
Totally.
And let's not forget those fidget spinners that seemed to be absolutely everywhere just a few years ago, capturing the attention of millions seemingly overnight.
Right.
Those spinners were truly unforgettable. And the essence of it all, I think, across all those diverse examples, it's that fundamental human desire to feel like you have something, wow, something unique, something special, and truly your own, something that just sparks joy.
Yeah.
That emotional connection was true back then with our childhood toys. It's undeniably true right now with Labubu. And it will continue to be true for generations to come. Only the box and maybe what's inside that box have changed over time. That fundamental human desire for that spark of joy, for a sense of belonging maybe, and for just a moment of delightful surprise, that remains constant. So, with all that in mind, if you really truly want one, if it sparks that undeniable desire inside you, then yeah, go ahead and buy it. Buy it just to fulfill that craving, to make that unboxing video, to enjoy the sheer moment of discovery.
Yeah.
But definitely don't buy it with the sole thought of becoming rich by reselling it later.
Not a great retirement plan.
Probably not, unless, of course, you happen to be a professional, highly organized scalper with a well-oiled machine. In which case, well, maybe it could work for you. Who knows?
Maybe.
But if you're buying for yourself, purely for your own joy, for that personal thrill of discovery, then there will be no disappointment, no shattered illusions about future riches, just a little monster that fulfilled its purpose, bringing you a moment of delight.
Well said.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we really want to hear from you listening. What toy did you desperately want as a child, but for whatever reason, maybe you never got? Or perhaps you were one of the lucky ones and you did manage to get it. Share those nostalgic memories with us. We'd love to hear them.
Yeah, definitely.
And finally, maybe a thought to leave you with. What does Labubu's explosive, almost chaotic rise really say about our collective human desire? Our desire for connection, for surprise, for a sense of belonging, even if that connection, that feeling is simply channeled through a small plastic figure? It's a fascinating question, isn't it? And one that truly lingers long after the unboxing is over.